Hello Android fanatics, my name is Erica, and before me I have the Asus Transformer Prime in all of its completed glory. You can see that this is the amethyst gray one here. So what I really want to do is do a full real world review on it for you guys. Like a couple weeks ago I did a review on the other first ice cream sandwich available device, which is the Galaxy Nexus. And what I really like to do is give you guys an idea of what it's like to use it out in the world, what the thickness is like, what it's like in pocket, what it's like to actually use the device, what the screen actually looks like, how all practicalities are, what I don't like about it, what I do like about it, how's the camera, how's the operating system, all those good things that a lot of the times are left out in other type of specification-based reviews. So here we go. We're going to start it on the Asus Transformer Prime. So the first thing that I want to talk about is actually the build quality. I'm going to start with actually the whole piece as a one unit together, both the keyboard and the actual unit itself. The feel of it is actually very, very sturdy. It's very nice. I really do like this aluminum feel to it. There are some downsides for it to being a bit, completely aluminum, which I will get into. It's basically the GPS antenna is not able to have the waves penetrate as it should because it's all of metal backing, and then they end up deflecting, and so you don't get a very good signal. But otherwise, it's fantastic. It's very sturdy. I haven't had much trouble with it scratching yet, but I do hear that it is susceptible to scratching. It is extremely prone to fingerprints, which I'll show you a close-up of that. So the fingerprinting is a little bit hard to pick up on camera, but if you turn it in the light just right, you can actually see it. It's pretty bad. I'm assuming that the lighter version is just as susceptible, but you just don't see them the same because it's a lighter color. But a quick wipe down with the microfiber cloth, and you should be all good. Now, as far as the thickness, it's very, very thin. It looks kind of like a MacBook Air, one of the newest versions. It's, very, very thin, so it'll easily fit in a backpack, and you should have no problem at all. I just have a sleeve that was for my iPad, which I no longer use, so I just put it in there, and it fits just fine, and it's awesome. Now, when you open it up, a lot of people say that it's very top heavy, so that it has the potential to fall over. Now, I haven't actually had much of an issue with that. I find that the angle doesn't really expand as far as you need it to even fall over. So, that's not too much. The top heaviness is actually not too much of a worry. I haven't had any issues with it falling over. So I wouldn't keep that from deterring your purchase. So, a question that I had asked myself when I got this unit before I even had the keyboard is, will the keyboard scratch my unit when I dock it? So the answer is no. No, it won't. Although I do recommend that before you put it into the dock, if it's really grimy on this screen, I'd make sure that there isn't any particles. You want to make sure that there aren't any pieces of quartz particles or sand particles, which are so common because that's what really does scratch the screen, which is unfortunate. The actual keyboard dock unit itself is actually coated inside with this felty feeling material. And of course, if there was something that could potentially scratch the unit itself, once you slide it in here, if that pushes up against the screen, that's going to scratch it. So provided that you don't leave nasty grimy particles down here when you dock your unit, you shouldn't have any trouble with the unit scratching the screen. So yes, it can scratch, but no, the keyboard dock isn't the thing that's going to scratch it. As far as insertion of SD cards goes, you know that the dock has an expandable memory. It has a full SD card slot that's right here. It's kind of recessed, of course, from the bottom, so it gives us this curve. I'll be able to show it to you with some B-roll. It's when you try to press it, you need to really get your fingernail in there because it's hard to kind of pop out, which is a good thing, but I get a little bit paranoid that I'm going to end up kind of bending the aluminum, although it shouldn't have any issue. What I love about the unit itself is that it's incredibly bright when you have it in the Super IPS Plus mode. So I'm on the shuttle transport all the time because I'm a student at UCSD. You know, college students, we always need our computers on the go. And my iPad, my iPad didn't cut it as far as brightness went, but I can actually turn up the display and hit Super IPS, and in direct and, you know, violent sunlight, you can see it perfectly. All the colors, the rich saturation, this is perfect. All I have to do is just go under my settings down here, and then I just can slide this around and hit the Super IPS Plus mode off and on, and it's fantastic. That's one of the things I've been looking for in a tablet, and it's great. The brightness isn't matched by any other unit I've seen so far. One thing that I find a bit awkward about the build is that the rocker for the volume is on your left-hand side, and it's a bit weird sometimes to access, especially for the right-handed people. I'm kind of expecting it usually to be on the right-hand side, so, you know, that can be a bit awkward, but it's not too bad overall. And then on top of it, you know, the power button is on your left-hand side as well, and it can be kind of awkward to fidget with for right-handed people, but it's okay overall. It's not something that really bothers me. It's just a little quirk that I've noticed, which is the point of this video, is just to tell you really what it's like to use this particular tablet. You've got your headphone jack, which I really like the placing of. I really do wish that there were two speakers, because when you're listening to some media, such as on YouTube, if the person didn't have a very high audio decibel quality, then it sounds kind of muted down and you can't really hear it, so you kind of have to palm over the speaker so that the sound waves rebound off your hand and you can hear it better that way. So it would have been useful if it was, you know, stereo sound instead of just the mono on this one side. At least that's what I'm going to call it. But with other things, you know, it can be a quite loud speaker, and it sounds really nice, actually. So, you know, it's not too bad at all. So several days ago, Ice Cream Sandwich was released for this particular tablet. ASUS surprised everybody early by releasing it several days early, which was really nice. So differences. People have asked me, so what are the differences that you have noticed since you have updated the tablet to this new operating system? One word, it's awesome. It's two words, actually. It's really fluid now. It doesn't have any jitteriness, and I'm able to finally use the, you know, live wallpapers, and it's just really quick, snappy. I really like that I can now go to the recent apps list and just swipe them off before, because Honeycomb is really annoying with the recent apps list. There's this little tiny X, and you have to sit there and try to click at it, and it doesn't ever go away, and it just was really annoying. So I really do like this new interface. It's very fast, very snappy. It had gotten rid of some of the glitches from before, although I do see now that there are a few new glitches that I would like to show you, or at least explain. So with the keyboard unit plugged in here, the YouTube app seems to have some problems. I don't know if that is something that had been there before I updated to ICS, and if it's just a keyboard glitch, because I really didn't check that. So if any of you guys haven't updated yet, or if anybody has any insight, I'd be grateful if you could leave a comment and let me know, because of, you know, YouTube is a huge thing for me, and a lot of people count on YouTube for information. So it's annoying to have to go to your search bar up here. It works perfectly. You can type in whatever you want. I'm going to show this also on the side for you. You can type in whatever you want and it works. So, but if you go into a video and you try to use the YouTube search from inside that video page, it doesn't work. It just defaults. It just defaults to, if you push a D, it tries to find a video in the short links bar here. If you can see it, it tries to find a video that starts with D or a video that starts with N. So that's quite annoying. So you have to go back to the YouTube homepage and use the search bar from there. So I find that annoying, and I don't really like that. So I'm hoping that's something that YouTube updates and that ASUS maybe can fix with some type of, I don't know, software update. So as I was just talking to you about some data and text entry with the YouTube app, if you ever do have any issues with maybe incompatibility with a website, or it's just not wanting to work with this physical keyboard until there's some type of fix or update, you do have the option of going down to your bottom toolbar here, which I can also show you in a close frame, you can hit use physical keyboard. You can see that there is a little slider that says on, and you can hit off. When you slide it off, it will let you use your on-screen keyboard, as you can see there. So, you know, that is a nice feature. A lot of people were worried about the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth, saying that they have some issues being able to use both at the same time. I was able to test it, and I didn't have any issues at all on my unit. So maybe it was just a first batch that people were having trouble with it, but it's not really an issue that I'm seeing with most of the devices. You can use Bluetooth and Wi-Fi at the same time and not have any conflicting issues with the signal. I didn't have any issue at all, so I just want to put that to rest if that's something that you're concerned about. And if you do have that problem, just go and exchange it. Hopefully that was just one of the bad batch units, and then you won't have that problem again. As far as the Wi-Fi signal, I find that it's really good. There's, just because it's all metal backing, I haven't had any issues actually with the Wi-Fi whatsoever. It keeps up with my laptop. It's very speedy. So, you know, I think that the only thing that's really affected is the GPS. But in all practicalities, I have a cell phone, and it's constantly connected to a 3G, 4G network. And I would much rather use this for GPS. So if you're not going to be somebody who has a gigantic tablet sitting there, you know, on your windshield, or I don't even know how you would mount something to this size, you really shouldn't be bothered about it. Although I'm hoping that Asus releases something that you can put on the bottom, or maybe through the headphone jack, that helps to grab a little bit more signal. That would be nice. I mean, Apple did it. They gave out bumpers to try to have people not touching the antenna so that it wouldn't make the, you know, signal go down. So hopefully Asus will do the right thing and give us some type of proprietary plugin that will help that, rather than just release a new model, which you guys have seen, and that's kind of insulting. It's higher resolution and it has a plastic backing instead, which is kind of a duh for the GPS. But I still like this one over that one, the overall look and feel, so I'm not going to switch anytime soon. I'm just going to wait till a third party or Asus releases some type of proprietary plugin so I can use that if I even feel like it. I mean, to me it's just impractical. So what actually happens when you try to use this as a GPS device? Well, I can tell you that if you're not near your house where you are able to be close to your Wi-Fi, it takes a really long time to get any type of a fix. Some people have said that they don't have a hard time and that they don't have any type of issues at all, but I don't know. I doubt that. I just have a hard time thinking that theirs is any different than mine when it's the same build. So it's terrible as far as the GPS goes. I don't get a fix, and when I do get a fix, it will take, I don't know, 6 minutes sometimes, and it only sees a couple satellites, and it's not all that accurate. So yeah, until they do release some type of proprietary plugin to get a better signal, don't be going around using this if you're stuck in the woods and there's a bear chasing you and you don't know to go right or left. Yeah, probably not a really good idea. All right, let's talk Gorilla Glass. So this does have Gorilla Glass. It is scratch resistant. The first thing I did notice is I actually do have a scratch on my screen. I don't know if that was from manufacturer, if I did it. It's not noticeable. It's kind of right here, kind of straight down, as if something had, like a piece of sand or something, when I was rubbing it, scratched it. It's peculiar. It doesn't bother me, but other than that, I've been using it without a screen protector, and I haven't had any issues whatsoever. So as far as scratches and the keyboard dock go, is this together an appropriate case so that you don't have to worry about the screen? So I'm going to redock it for you guys, and I'm going to say I'd say so. If you're planning on transporting it a lot with the actual dock plugged in all the time, I really wouldn't worry about using a screen protector. I'm going to show you also up close that it does have these little notches that are made out of rubber, so that they serve as stoppers. So when you actually close the unit, the aluminum doesn't ever come in contact with the screen, which is nice because it doesn't ever end up scratching the screen, and the rubber isn't going to scratch it. So yeah, feel free to use this as your screen protector /case. Although I do carry a little sleeve just to keep the aluminum nice and pristine and pretty. Although I'll probably end up getting a gel skins for it if it's ever released, or maybe even a Zag skin, and then think about just keeping it in one area of my backpack if I don't ever have my sleeve on me. So it's pretty sturdy. It will protect the screen. So I think this serves as a great screen protector package overall, as like any other laptop. All right, how about battery life? So I am a pretty heavy user, and I'm at school sometimes for 12 hours a day, from morning classes to night classes. Let me tell you that the battery on this thing is a beast. Even if I have the battery power turned up and I'm watching movies, I'm on YouTube, I'm viewing video content from SD cards, I was able to get pretty solid use for like 2.5 days without charging it. So the battery is awesome. It's on par with the iPad, and it's even better than the iPads because of this wonderful dock. If you're going to get an Asus Transformer Prime, I recommend shelling out that extra $150 and get that keyboard dock, because this is what really turns it into something that's fantastic over all other units that I've seen. One thing that frustrated me about the means of charging between the dock and the unit itself is that I was plugging in the dock and wanting the dock to constantly feed power to my tablet. The dock won't do that. So when it's plugged in, the unit has to hit down to 70 to below 70%-ish, and then the dock will kick in and start charging the unit. Asus explains in their facts, answers, and questions that it helps to keep them balanced with their charging so that it doesn't end up favoring one over the other too much, and ends up being able to fully exercise the batteries this way, which is really important. So I find that that's okay. 70% is pretty reasonable. So I don't have to fear that it's, going to hit a point where I'm going to end up dying. The battery will end up dying so quickly. If it was 50%, I would be really angry if that's when it took the keyboard to kick in. That would be fairly annoying. Alrighty, let's talk about the camera. So, it is a huge unit if you're thinking of using it as a standalone camera, and I don't recommend it. I'd say just take your smartphone, or if you're going to use something this big, use your DSLR. Save yourself some embarrassment, because it looks pretty ridiculous. If you're like me and you don't care, you probably will be out in public, snapping shots here and there, like on my Julian trip. So I can show you some of what the video looks like, which is pretty nice. It's not as saturated as a lot of Samsung cameras, but I'd say that it's actually pretty sharp with the video. One thing that I'm not impressed with is the actual point and shoot aspect of it. The pictures look washed out. It's hard to grab a focus. If you're using it outside, it's fine. I can show you a couple different picture examples, but this isn't going to replace my point and shoot camera at any point in time, not even my Galaxy Nexus, and people give that poor thing a hard time, which in my other review, if you'd like to check that out on the Galaxy Nexus, the camera is actually very proficient, so, don't knock it. And yeah, so I'll show you some examples. I really don't recommend using the auto white balance with this camera, because you can see this is what happens. It kind of has an off tint, either blue or red. So this is using fluorescent lighting like the other one, and this is with the auto white balance. This is with fluorescent lighting because there wasn't fluorescent lighting, and this is with the auto white balance, and once again with the fluorescent. So I find that a little odd. Here is a video showing how it looks outside. It's got quite a few colors and a bit of macro focus as well, so enjoy it.
I want some. Do you want some pie, Katie?
I love pie. I love pie.
I love pie.
We should eat first because the line always takes like half.
Alright, burst my bubble.
Now, when we're talking about the actual use of the dock itself, you can see that they have a nice, this is a button, half button pad and mouse pad at the same time. It's integrated, so there is some gestures that you can actually use, which I've seen on the MacBook. I don't know if any of you guys actually use Mac, but when you slide on the MacBook, right or left, You'll switch between screens, or you can go backward on your internet browser. Same thing with this. So it does have some gesture aspects. I also noticed that you can also pinch to zoom on some things. So it's actually quite advanced keyboard. It's not a full-size keyboard, obviously. It's, like a netbook's. So I have really tiny hands. For you men that do have large hands, I'd imagine that you'd probably have some issues sometimes hitting the right keys. It would probably help me if I would bother to cut my fingernails so I'm not kind of slipping and sliding. But they're not full-sized, and I find that even with small fingers, sometimes I end up pushing the wrong ones, and I find that extremely annoying. But after getting used to it, it's gotten a lot better. If trackpads utterly annoy you and you have the actual table space, there is a full USB port here. Not mini USB, but a full USB port. So if you have a mouse, an optical mouse, you can actually use that optical mouse with this keyboard, which is awesome, so that you can sit there and you can have your actual optical mouse and not have to worry about this trackpad if that doesn't strike your fancy. Alright, gaming! Yeah, a lot of people are gamers, and they really want their systems, any system that they have, to be proficient in playing games. So the Tegra 3 processor is fantastic. There's TegraZone, if I can get into that for you guys. TegraZone has a couple of games. They've already shown you games such as Glowball and that one Riptide game, which is actually pretty nicely priced. I think it was $2.99 in the App Store. The games look fantastic. I love it. It's so nice to use. So I have also the mini HDMI port on here. I've been able to hook this up to my Samsung TV, no problem. And the aspect ratio is of, 16:9. So it looks great on my TV. It fills the whole screen. The colors are really rich, vibrant. Just that will depend on your display. But it looks really, really nice. So if you're playing a game like Riptide, you can actually use the tablet as a controller, and it works really nice that way. You're also able to purchase external controllers, ones that are generics or ones that are kind of like PlayStation-like, and use it with the tablet. So the games in the Tegra market, let's see if I'll also show you an up-close of that. So the games in the Tegra market, beside on the left-hand bar, you will be able to see what's compatible with the game. Some will say controller ready, and when it says controller ready, you can actually use that external controller that you purchase and end up using this, on your full screen TV, and it looks very much like PlayStation 2-ish. So it's really nice. I would say it's a pretty good option for on the go. I love it, and I haven't found anything else that will match it so far. So iPad. Sorry, Apple lovers. I still like the iPad, but I don't know. This is just so easy. It's just kind of plug and play. Plug and play is so important to me. I don't like being told no, that I can't do whatever it is that I want with my tablet. So, gamers, gamers unite, enjoy the Asus Transformer Prime's offerings, and be happy. So, let's talk about Lightbleed. So, the original Transformer had the glass a little bit more recessed, or the display is a little bit more recessed from the glass, and a lot of people noticed that you had a lot of light bleeding on the sides, here and there, and it looked awful. So they were supposed to fix that with Asus Transformer Prime. Now, I'm going to tell you that I still have issues with the light bleed. I don't see it as being really awful. I have no dead pixels on the screen, so I'm one of those people that gets really unlucky and has something wrong with my unit every single time. So I'm not going to go jump to the store to return it for a few places of light bleed, which I can also show you. So, even though it does have light bleed, it's not as bad as it was on the iPad. The light bleed that came out on the iPad 2 was really annoying. It really bothered me. It was extremely prominent, and it gave, waves that would discolor the entire screen. So this doesn't really happen here. I only noticed the light bleed on boot up, on the boot up animation. Even during movies that are black barred, I don't really notice the light bleed all that much. So I would say that it has a little bit of light bleed. All the units are going to be a little bit different. They say that most of the light bleed happens on the right-hand side of the screen. I can concur and say that, yeah, Most of them I have seen do have the light bleed on the right side of the screen. So, you know, with the LCD technology, it happens because it is backlit. So you have the light that pours in from all sides. So, you know, when you have units that are super AMOLED, it's not the same thing. You don't get that backlight bleed that you get on the LCD display. So I'm really hoping that Samsung manufactures a lot more displays and that it really gets rid of that nasty light bleed issue that you're going to have anytime you have an LCD display. It's very rare to have it completely sealed off. So if you can get rid of your OCD-ness, just, you know, love it for what it is. And if it's not really bad, try to get over it because you're going to have some variation of light bleed, probably on every single unit that you find. So, sorry guys. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions at all about the Asus Transformer Prime or its functioning, or if there's something that's going weird with yours and you want to have somebody to talk to, you can message me at any time. You can contact me through my YouTube email or angelofmusic1989@gmail.com, and I will answer as soon and as quick as possible. So always feel free to contact me. Overall, I absolutely love this, you know, new thing here. It's a new friend, and I don't miss my iPad at all. I do miss some of the games. One of them which I miss is Tiny Wings and Temple Run, but maybe there'll be some type of good substitute for Temple Run eventually, and I do have a couple good substitutes for Tiny Wings, so, you know, I'm getting over it. I'm not going to jeopardize the functionality that I have with this awesome tablet versus my iPad, where if I want it to work, I need to buy any type of proprietary plugin just to get it to use the HDMI on the TV, and then it's limited, and that, you know, that's annoying to me. So finally, I am free. Nobody can tell me what to do anymore. No company can lock me down. So thank you so much, Asus, and thank you for unlocking that bootloader. So that's my last note, is that if you want to modify your tablet and put new operating systems on it, then go ahead, because you can now have software that Asus has released to unlock that bootloader. They just warn you that it's going to void your warranty. Although I'd assume that you can just revert it backward and they would be able to tell, just like Apple.